So I was dating someone who smoked a lot of weed. We were learning the infrastructure of cannabis. We met with companies like Flow Hub and Kova. People don't know this. It's a reward in that for you. It feels good to be able to bless others. It feels good to create opportunities for others. And the one thing I tell people is people never forget how you made them feel. I think that my brand is successful because I was able to.
Welcome to the podcast, where we introduce you to incredible humans who share their journeys with the mission to inspire you to harness your own inner tenacity to drive your life and career forward. And now, your host, Adam Posner.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast, where we bring you the best and the brightest in the world of business, marketing, and personal growth and cannabis to help you harness your inner tenacity and drive your career forward. Folks, my guest today on this very special 420th episode of the podcast is Victoria Williams. She's a trailblazer in the cannabis industry and a pioneer for women of color. As the first African-American woman to carry a product in Illinois' dispensary, Victoria has broken barriers at every turn, from launching the Caviar brand and leading first predominantly Black-owned craft grow to opening dispensaries and championing responsible vendor training. Her journey embodies resilience and dedication to quality, like recording quality. We did it. With a commitment to advancing the industry responsibly, Victoria is shaping the future of cannabis in Illinois and beyond. We'll dig into Wake and Vape and so much more. Let's do it. Victoria Williams, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, good afternoon to everybody around the world, whatever your time zone may be. Thank you for having me today.
Welcoming. What's happening in Chi-Town? What's going on out there today?
Well, today is a dispensary called Sway for 1 year anniversary.
There we go.
So that's really great because it's a social equity dispensary and one of our clients who carry our brand, Wake and Vape, and also Wake and Puff. So it's a lot of great things going around in Chicago today, and we're really excited to celebrate.
I love it. Chicago is one of my favorite towns. And I say outside of New York, because I'm a New York City guy, born and raised. I am very New York centric. And for me, listen, New York is the best city on earth. But after that, I like Chicago. I like the people. I like the town. I like the food scene in Chicago is top notch. Aside from that crappy deep dish, you call it pizza, but it's just a soupy casserole nonsense. But I'm pizza. I'm a New York pizza guy. I can't get out of it.
Have you had Chicago pizza though?
You mean deep dish or regular Chicago pizza?
Listen. We got to dispel the negative connotation about pizza in Chicago. That deep dish story, that rumor is just a rumor. Chicagoans don't eat deep dish pizza.
All right.
We like thin crust pizza.
Good. All right.
Started that.
Fair enough. The other great thing about Chicago, it is a great steakhouse town. It is a great hamburger town. I have had one of my 5 best cheeseburgers of my life in Chicago when I was there in June. But anyway, I digress. Let's get into it. Victoria, we have a lot to get into. I absolutely love your journey, why I reached out on so many different levels. And today, again, we're talking about cannabis. We're going to talk about something that is, in my opinion, I'm so glad it's gone mainstream. I'm so glad it's been deregulated. And also when we talk about the social injustice out there, how many people are locked up for bullshit weed violations versus so many other criminal acts. But we're going to get into all that stuff in a little bit. But first and foremost, we need to unpack your entrepreneurial journey, Victoria. And where I start with everyone, if you don't mind me asking, what did your mother and father do for a living?
Right now?
For a living. Yeah. Where did you start? When you were growing up, what are they doing? What are they up to?
Growing up. So my father spent a lot of time being incarcerated for the sale of marijuana. And my mom, she worked 2 jobs. She worked in retail and now she works more corporate. I can't say who she worked for right now because
no need.
Somebody might fire her.
Nah, we don't want to get me in trouble. So do you mind if we talk about your dad a little bit?
Yes, we can talk about my dad a little bit.
So when you were growing up, he got locked up for weed. Do you I mean, how old were you at the time?
So I was born in 1983. When our house was raided, I was watching Beverly Hills Cops, and Beverly Hills Cops came out in 1984. So I'm pretty sure I probably was too young to be watching that movie. But because of the trauma, I can remember every detail of what transpired that day. Because when Chicago police kicked in our doors, they had absolutely no regards for the children that were around. And I could say I was not even in second grade. So I was younger
Right.
than a second grader. And I remember my beads and barrettes being thrown all over the house and, pretty much rampage,
Mm.
tore up the property and things of that nature. And all they found was a joint. They didn't find exactly what they were looking for, but
It
someone
was
was
enough.
looking for a joint.
It was enough.
It was
Right.
enough for an arrest for sure.
And we talk about, and I'm a champion for this, ending systemic injustices in our legal system, in our jail system, and this targeting of people of color in these communities for bullshit,
Yeah,
right? And the laws made it so easy for the police and the DA to use these as bullshit charges and put folks away,
absolutely. So I
right?
spent most of my childhood, I had visited my father in county jails. I've never been to a prison to visit him though, but I remember when I was really young, I was visiting him at the county jails. And, after I gave birth to my first child, who is now 21, so this was about 21 years ago, I went and visited my dad and I brought my son to the jail and I said, "Hey, listen, this is your grandchild and I want you to meet him. But when you get out this time, I need you to change your life around because if you want to be involved in your grandchildren's lives, you have to be here.
Yeah.
So it won't be like how angry I was growing up that you were in and out. And it's really sad to see it now because it's like all of these years that he has been in and out of jail that has impacted my life negatively. So many people get to capitalize on the exact same thing,
Right.
you know?
It's a crazy story. So how does he feel now that you're in this business doing it legitimately and doing it right?
I think he's excited about it, honestly. That conversation that he and I had when I visit him, that was the last time. He got out of jail. He started a landscaping company. And, I helped him create business cards for him. And we set up a legitimate business for
I
him.
love it.
And so I think that was a, wake up call for him. He's a granddad now. So he's doing well now. I think he's very excited
Change.
for me in this industry. He's never said anything negative, but he's never smoked a joint with me
Well, that's an
either.
interesting one. And from a championing change from a legal legislative point of view, I mean, this has to be your motivation, right? Like this has to be the core of what you're doing. But where did it come from? Where did this desire to start this company originate?
So I was dating someone who smoked a lot of weed.
Story how I met my wife.
I was not a cannabis
Right.
whatsoever. I had a really nice career and, I had a child and we went out to Colorado. There was some show that came on when Colorado went legal. So
Hmm.
about 2015, we went out to Colorado and we were learning the infrastructure of cannabis. We met with companies like Flow Hub and Kova, and we were trying to learn how the companies actually work from the inside out. And so it just started with just educating ourselves in the industry, properly educating ourselves. So I spent a lot of money taking classes, like,
Upskill and learning.
yeah, some of the classes $600, some of them $1,200. Some of they really ran it up with the cannabis
Well,
education.
they were trying to cash in because everyone's trying to get in on it, right?
Yeah, so I've taken infusion courses, I've taken cultivation
Well, you
courses.
need to know, you need to know the full vertical integration, the understanding of the logistics, the growing. You need to know everything inside out if you're going to start a business.
Absolutely. And so the things that we were learning on the West Coast, we were bringing it back to
Mm.
Illinois. And we started hosting different classes and different events, telling people, hey, Illinois is about to go wreck soon. We need to be prepared, And we didn't have the money to get in on the medical license because you needed liquid.
Was it a lottery system when it was medical?
No, you just
You
needed
need
liquid.
yeah,
You had to meet certain criterias that we did not meet
right.
at time.
Financial.
Yeah. And so when the state proposed recreational and the social equity program, we thought this was the perfect time for us because so many of us fit the social equity standards in the state of Illinois.
So let's talk a little bit about that, the social equity standards. Just for anyone out there who's not too familiar, what does that mean? Just break it down in layman's terms for us.
So the state of Illinois, to me, Governor Pritzker, legislators, and advocates collectively worked together to identify those that were impacted by the war on drugs.
Hmm.
And they created a program called the Social Equity Program. And so if you met certain criterias, so if you have been arrested for cannabis, or if you have a immediate loved one who has been arrested for cannabis,
Check the box
whether
on that.
that's convicted or not convicted, just an arrest, qualified you as social equity. They also mapped out the disadvantaged communities in the state of Illinois, and which was called a DIA map. And if you lived in any of these distressed communities in the last 5 of 10 years, then you qualified as a social equity applicant. And this is where they screwed up. This
Uh-oh.
last piece is what you can't get
Uh-oh.
it all right.
No, especially Illinois.
Be mad at our state because
Oh.
you got to give and take. It's gonna be some good.
All right. What'd they do? What'd they do here?
Where they messed up at is that they gave people, if you hired 10 people that was in disproportionate impacted communities, then you qualify as social equity. And so that's where the dishonesty and mistrust came in because
Hmm.
for the sake of application purposes, poor people were targeted to, apply and were under the assumption that they will have this employment if these people got approved for licenses, and none of that occurred.
No.
No one kept the people, and the state of Illinois changed those rules, and yeah, it became a clusterfuck. Excuse me.
You could curse. Say whatever the hell you want on this show.
It
All
became
right. So
a clusterfuck after
so
that.
let's talk about
Happened.
let's talk about the early days, right? Did you have like the brand vision, the Wake and Vape? Did you have the idea? What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Mm.
Mm,
So the Wake and Vape idea did not come into 2 years ago.
right.
What initially happened is that I applied to be a responsible vendor. So that was the very first application that was issued on August 1st of 2019. And it gave a small window for you to apply from August 1st through August 15th. You can become a responsible vendor to actually teach cannabis courses in the
Mm.
state of Illinois, which was mandatory. Anybody that worked in the state of Illinois had within 90 days of employment, they had to be trained by an approved responsible vendor that's approved by the state of
Ooh,
Illinois.
so that's another interesting rev stream right there, opportunity, right?
It
Mm.
was in the beginning. It was a great rev string in the beginning.
Yeah, that's
Now it's
interesting,
non-existent.
right? But you cash in when you can, take
Yeah,
advantage of the opportunities.
you gotta pivot. You gotta keep pivoting. That's what this industry has
Oh
taught me.
yeah.
Continue to pivot. So we got in as an educator, became a responsible vendor. As I became a responsible vendor, I was building a lot of relationships in this industry. And then I started doing like educational tours where I was taking people from Illinois out to Colorado behind the scenes.
Showing them the dispensary, the production, how
Yes.
it's how do you grow flower and the intricacies of it, because it's a tricky plan unless you know what you're doing, right?
Not just that, everybody that came to me, they all wanted a dispensary license. And I was asking them why. Like, they was like, oh, I want a dispensary. I want a dispensary. And I was like, hey, have you ever been in a dispensary?
Do you even know what it
You
means?
know what it takes to run a dispensary? How about you sign up and come on my tour?
Hmm.
Because my tour was not just dispensaries. My tour, I took them to MEPS. That's what they call them in Colorado, MEPS. where you can see the BHO extraction being done. You can see the edibles being created. You can go down there and it looked like, New Jack City, the 2020
You
version.
just made a New Jack City. All right. Side note, and I'm writing this down because I got some time to myself in a little bit. I'm gonna rewatch New Jack City because I had it on DVD. It is such a good movie. Wesley's in that, right? Is that Wesley Snipes
Yeah,
movie?
that is.
Yeah, one of my
Mhm.
favorites. All right, we made the
Yeah.
New Jack
I used
reference.
to tell people on my tours, I say, hey guys, when you get ready to walk through this room, it's going to remind you of New Jack City, but people going to have their clothes on.
Right, right. It's not the crack labs when they're all
It's
just
not
naked.
like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
but it was a nice
Great reference,
um,
Victoria.
eye
Thank you.
opener for them, really, because some people who thought they wanted dispensaries can make an informed decision.
Well, let's pause on that, right? Because what you were doing is you're giving them the information because they thought in their head what they thought it would be until they see how much work goes into it, the intricacies of it, the capital needed, and the full knowledge set to really truly understand the vertical integration, so you could be a successful business owner.
Absolutely.
So you talk people out of it too, which for them, that's a huge savings. You save those people tons of money going down the wrong path,
I did.
right?
I sure did. Some people, instead of applying for dispensary licenses, they apply for transport licenses. They apply for infuser license, which had a
Other
lower entry.
other parts of the distribution of the process.
Absolutely,
Ah,
absolutely. So that tour was pretty good for people to make informed decisions about where they wanted to apply and what licenses or what they want to actually do in this industry. And so going forward after the tours, we put together a team to apply for a dispensary license ourselves. We actually got a perfect score.
oh,
Only 20, yes, perfect score.
nice.
Only 21 groups in the state of Illinois received perfect scores in the first round of dispensary applications. And that opened the door for so many lawsuits started getting filed and it stalled the
Hmm.
licenses, it stalled the whole process. People lost their momentum, people lost their
Oh
investors.
yeah.
And then after that, LaShawn Ford at the time was cannabis champion for social equity. And he sponsored a bill 1443 and it created additional lotteries to allow people to get the dispensary licenses. So a lot of the licenses you see open right now, they receive those licenses from the additional lottery.
Where do you think that headwind came from in the community, especially the state of Illinois, right? Like where do you think the tide turned and the government and the legislature really saw the light about the decriminalization, the regulation, and eventually, obviously, the recreational use?
I mean, there was advocates out here pushing for those things. And it took a lot of time to educate lawmakers who were not educated about cannabis
Right,
or how they should actually introduce the program or how the program, the good and the bad from the program, how it could negatively impact others. So it was a lot of kinks, a lot of back and forth going on. But what we did know, we knew that this program and what the governor knew, the governor intent was for what I believe his intent was to change people's lives. He wanted to do something that will make millionaires overnight, you
hmm,
know, and they didn't get it all right. His administration did not get it all right, but I believe they intentionally tried to do it right.
right.
And so you don't know that the apple is rotten until you cut inside the apple. And that's my perspective. So I've been on both sides
Yeah, you got to
as
figure
a
it out.
license holder, as a consumer, as an educator, and as an advocate. And sometimes we don't get it all right.
Well, it's all a work in progress. I want to talk about the early days of the business. And as a business owner, what was that first time that you really got punched in the face as a business owner? Maybe you thought something was going the right way. That first big smack in the head.
Oh God. So I decided to apply for a transportation license independently of my group who applied for dispensary and craft grow license, just in case, I wanted to make sure I had something to create a legacy for my family
Right.
as well, independently. Well, COVID hit And due to COVID, there's this company called KPMG, the accounting firm,
Yep.
who's responsible for grading our applications. KPMG got a no bid contract for like $7.2 million. And they graded all of our applications late.
Uh-oh.
So technically, we were supposed to have been awarded our transportation licenses in 2020, but instead we were not awarded them until 2021. And that devastation caused the MSOs, and who, for those who don't know, the multi-state operators were now capable of transporting their own products, and they didn't have no need for us.
Basically just eliminated the need. Yeah.
It wiped our businesses completely out. And you know what the really bad part about it was? In the bill specifically. So this cannabis bill, House Bill 1448, is over 600 pages long. So when you dissect the bill, I encourage people to go read page 200, 225, and 247. That will tell you what you need to know about the transporters, the infusers, and the craft growers. And in that section, it specifically stated all transporters will receive contracts from the current 21 cultivators. And that did not happen. So when we were awarded the licenses July 15th, 2021, we were excited. The news came out tomorrow. This week, like, yes,
we did it. We got this piece.
we
Yeah.
did it. I went out there and I purchased a vehicle. I can't say the type of vehicle because our vehicles
Don't matter.
have to be unmarked. But because it was COVID, I paid $10,000 more than the market price for the vehicle, because during COVID, it was hard to get vehicles. And I had one MSO reached out to me and they said, hey, we have 8 stores we would like you to transport to. And that's what caused me to go the vehicle. I had to get prepared. I had to pay software. I had to get this vehicle up into compliance. And then that company stringed us along, and then ghosted us.
Uh-oh.
So now I'm stuck with all of this overhead, a $900 car note, insurance that's skyrocketing.
What are you going to do?
What do you do?
What are you going to do? Did you pivot? What'd you do? What'd you do with it? Did you turn lemons into lemonade? What'd you do with it?
You know what? I had no choice.
Right.
For the first year, I did more advocacy work because we got to go back to the drawing board and change these laws because you guys said this. And at one point in time, I sent the governor all my bills.
Oh, no. Just a heads up. Here's what we're working with.
I wrote a nice little letter to the state of Illinois, and I said, before I joined this cannabis program, I was in a better financial position. I had a better credit score. You guys created a program that was supposed to make my life better, and you have made it financially depressing.
That's a problem.
And all the bills to the governor.
But like you think about that, like you look back on it now, Victoria, right? And like the lessons learned, I mean, you had to pivot, you had to suck it up. There was things that were out of your control. There were things that were ultimately out of control. So, hey everybody, Adam here from the Podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by the team at Fountain. Fountain is your full-service frontline workforce management platform. I have to tell you, Fountain's offerings are some of the most robust I've seen for any product in the space. They offer full solutions for hiring, managing, and retention. They are truly a one-stop shop focused on the frontline workforce. They also create informative content using their data. For example, they analyze a bunch of data from their fast food chains and created a trend report you could download now on their website. They also have a new ebook out called Frontline Voices. There's a lot to dive into. Certainly check it out. And you could learn more at fountain.com, linked in the show notes. Thank you. I want to talk about the brand here. Listen, there's a lot of products on the market out there. I mean, I go into my local dispensary and I'm somewhat knowledgeable in the space. I know what I like and I know what to look for. And I also know certain brands that I try and I like for a reason. What makes your brand unique? Talk to me about the products. Talk to me about the quality of them. How have you built this brand to really stand out? And who's your target?
All right. So the name of my brand is Wake and Vape. You can see behind me here.
Yep.
Banner. And the idea came from, technically, I was going to do Wake and Bake because I was a consultant for a infuser who had bake in their name, but
Right.
they didn't have no baked goods
It
or
wasn't edibles.
so nothing baked.
Oh,
So
not baked.
vape was going to be a baked vape. That's
Mm.
what it's going to be. And as time went on of me putting together the things for baked vape, they were having some financial woes because they, as a company, they only had 3 SKUs. They had a gummy line actually,
Hmm.
and they had to continue to lay people off. So I ended up giving them my letter of resignation in December of 2023, right before my 40th birthday. And I continued to work on baked vapes, but I told them they can have that name, that I think that they still should create them a baked vape, even though I'm no longer with the company.
Mm.
And so I did a social experiment, and we ended up coming out with the Wake and Vape name. Through a social experiment, I sent a list of 10 names to 50 people that I trusted.
Little survey, little
I did. I do them all the time. Social experiment.
market research, consumer focus group. There we go.
Yeah. And so Frank Cowan from Planet 13, Illinois, he was like, I don't care what your surveys say. You should definitely do the Wake and Vape.
It's a
And
great
I
name.
said, honestly, I got more people who said Wake and Vape.
I'm shocked that it hasn't been out there before, to be honest with you.
Me too.
Right? I heard it like when you came across my plate here, I was like, that's got to be out there before that. No way.
Well, I trademarked the name.
Yeah, but it's not. Well,
So I
obviously,
was
yeah.
like, we searched around for it. We saw different things that were similar, but they wasn't actually vapes.
Hmm.
So I'll let you see the packaging. See that? It's real cute.
I'm waiting for mine. Yeah, can't wait.
Just email me all the information. I'll send you. I'll be out there. We
Hold.
supposed to manufacture some there soon.
So here's my wait. Hold that up again. Hold that up again. And I want everyone watching this. All right. So first of all, gorgeous packaging. What people need to understand is how you need to have that stand out in the dispensary, right? When it's on the shelves.
Yes, correct.
Talk a little bit about the brand thought and design. First of all, the colors, that shit pops, right? Like talk about that process.
So I am a ombre girl. I love ombre
I love
colors.
that word, by the way.
Yeah. And so I designed these myself. I spent a lot of time designing them. Now, here's the thing. It's very hard to open these because they're childproof.
Well, you got to, yeah.
Yeah.
And the edibles, by the way, anyone who messes with the edibles, those things are the hardest packages to open up.
I
Like
mean, for
I'm
me,
tearing it with my teeth. Like it's just by design because that's part of the regulation.
so as I was building out the brand, I wanted to make it special. And I'm a soccer mom. So I created this brand for other soccer moms. Reason in particular is because my son plays in the Special Olympics. And all the moms are scared to admit that they are consumers. We're the moms. We deserve it. And there will be one mom go to the dispensary and she buy all the cannabis for all the other moms.
That's
and
the
they
way it works.
and they hurt
Can you let me know? Can you let me know next time you're going? Can you pick something up for me? Right?
I want something back.
Yo, what could you get me? I really like that. Could you get me to that next time?
So because
Right.
of that.
Right. We're right. I mean, that's the way it works.
Oh God.
So you wanted to make it. You wanted to make it pop, and it did. Look at that thing. So let me ask you this though, right? Let's talk about the quality. Talk about the quality of the product. What goes into it for folks out there that may not understand.
So a lot goes into this project, this process. Number one, if you don't have an infuser license, then you're going to be looking to white label with someone with an infuser license.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you have a brand, then you're going to be looking to maybe license your brand to someone else. And so there's a difference between white labeling and licensing agreements. And I think I can go on and on to talk about that. But that's one point. Two, you need to make sure you understand your cost factors. For me, I broke down every dollar, every penny that I would have to spend. How much is your package? See, I didn't just throw a vape in a box.
Right.
I wanted it in a Mylar bag. And I put words of
It's
affirmation on
branded,
the
yeah.
Mylar bag. It says, inhale confidence and exhale doubt. And I put directions for utilizing it on the Mylar bags too. I put our Instagram on the Mylar bag.
Yeah, you
Put
branded
some
the bags
extra
up.
information there. But something else, the uniqueness about it. So you needed to know how much the bags cost. You need to know how much the box costs. You need to know how much the oil is going to cost that's going inside these carts.
Mhm.
To know how much the terpenes are going to cost you. You need to know how much the lab is going to charge you
Yeah,
every time they test your product. You need to know how much your transportation cost is going to be. Because
all
given
rolled
if
in.
you own a transporter's license, there's still a cost associated with
Right.
moving that vehicle.
Right. You need to know the full landed cost of your product, all the production costs that go into it, and then understand the markup between the wholesale distributors and what the retail price is. This is big
Absolutely.
business. Yeah.
And see, I opened it with a pen. If I would have opened it this way, I would have been fighting all day trying to get to it. So I just
Oh, it's a
use a pen.
pro tip right there. Look at how fast you open that thing.
Yeah, yeah. You got to
Some of
learn.
these boxes, I mean, I get some vapes from California, and these boxes are so childproof that I cannot open it. You have to push.
Mhm.
You need like a third hand. You need like a third hand to like get in there and open the box up. They're
That
tricky.
was the Coda signature candies. Have you ever heard of the Coda brand?
No, but here's the
Oh,
fight
yeah.
difference. My wife could open them in 2 seconds. It takes me like 3 minutes.
I
She's
just
like,
ripped the whole box. I'm
I,
like, I
it's
can't take it. It's just the whole
all right.
box.
So I want to get back to focus on the quality of the product, because how does a consumer really understand what is actually in it? Like, here's the deal: when I look at a flower, when I look at bud and I look at flower, I have a very good sense, because I've been understanding this, of what it looks like, and I could assess quality, and also from the report from the reports on it. But like, how do I know how good this is?
So this is a distillate vape. And one thing that I teach people, and even before I became a vape manufacturer, I told always look at it. You should be able to see through it. It has a smell, a odor. If it's thick, looking like Prostalin gel, then don't purchase it. Yeah.
The
There's
oil has to
a
be
look.
somewhat. The oil has to be like liquidy. Like, what's the tell?
Well, yeah, it's liquid, but you should be able to see it. Like I can look right through here and I
Yeah.
can see me and you.
Oh, cool.
You should be able to see through the oil. And honestly, distillate is a pure concentrate, so it's not supposed to have no scent, no smell, no flavor, and no taste. There's not a plant profile in here. It's just extracted from the plant. So this is the purest form, and that's what
And
edibles are made with.
yes. And what's is it indica, sativa, hybrid? What do you go for in your product?
So this one in particular, the yellow and purple ombre, which these are my favorite colors, by the way.
Right.
This is an indica. The sunrise mango is a sativa, and the berry bliss is a hybrid. So
Yeah.
this is the berry bliss.
I like having the variety for different times of days and moods. Right. I like having the nighttime one. I like my indica at nighttime. I like my daytime sativa. You have
Yeah.
to know how you feel on each one. So let me ask you a question. What was, when you started out, what was the hardest part about getting these products into retail and building consumer awareness? How'd you do it?
The hardest part for me is this was my third product that I launched. So previous products that did not sell very well that I launched for other brands, for other people, made people a little bit more skeptical of
Mm,
buying my product because they like, hey, you sold me some gummies and that shit's still sitting on my shelf, you
yeah.
know? I was like, damn. I'm like, look, I'm just a salesperson. I was doing my job, you know? But this is my brand. I think that was the hardest part is winning people trust again, to trust that I created a good product. And with there being so many different vapes on the Illinois market, I had to think outside the box of how I will market it to them, how I will present it, the cost. And I came out with a nice promo of if for customers, if they buy two, get one for a penny to spread the brand.
Okay.
And so we did a lot of different events just to market ourselves
Yeah.
because this is a brand created for women, for moms. So we did cannabis and yoga events where we donated a lot of
Yeah.
products to that. And it was downtown Chicago where you saw the beam.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. We did mom and me yoga events. We did mom and me brunches. We did a lot of different events to market directly to consumers.
Hmm.
So when dispensaries saw that customers were constantly coming in asking for the vapes, they reached out and said, "Hey, you know what? We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna give you a shot
There we
and
go.
put you on our shelves." But it was some dispensaries that were easy to work with. They
And
immediately took our product, and it was great. We
what's what
appreciate them.
what's I know how much pride you take in being like I mean, keep me straight here. One of the first black-owned women pre-rolls in Illinois, right? Like, how much are you leveraging that for the brand?
So,
How do you incorporate who you are and what you stand for and your story, Victoria, into this brand? How do you bring it to life?
well, number one, I am a mom. I have a special needs child, and I'm a soccer mom. So I look at how difficult it is. I have a son with autism who is nonverbal, and our journey is well documented, via social media,
Mhm,
the Special Olympics, things of that nature. And mom's always looking for resources. So
mhm.
I wanted to provide resources to moms and educate moms. And so part of that brand, the Wake family, because our pre-rolls is called Wake and Puff. You see that?
Yeah. Look at those. Those are nice.
And so they mimic the Wake and Vape family, and we're gonna have some Wake and other things too. We literally just launched these like a week and a half ago here on the Illinois market.
Awesome.
Very, very proud of these. And yeah, they mimic the Wake family. To answer your question, it was more so about giving women a safe space to consume cannabis, to be educated on cannabis, and to actually understand what microdosing means.
Right. You don't have to be full on blazed all the time, just a
You
little bit
don't
here
have
and there,
to.
just for the edge, just to keep you
Take the edge
focused, just to
off.
give you that break, right?
Take the edge off.
I think that was like, I mean, obviously, I mean, everyone has their own cannabis journey, but once you go from like most people when they're younger and kids to just trying to get as high as possible to understanding how do I incorporate cannabis into my everyday life? Like for example, for me, one of my favorite things is nighttime. How do you turn your mind off after a long day of work and you just want to relax? You're busy with the kids, you're busy with work, whatever. You just want to watch some TV on the couch and just chill with your partner. Like you don't need to get full on zooted, right? You just need to figure out what that moderation is to make you feel the way you want to feel. That's one of the things I like about, even with pre-rolls, understanding when to clip it, right? Understanding a vape just a little bit here and there and the ability to understand micro versus macro dosing.
Yeah, one thing about our vapes, they're very discreet. So we wanted to make
Oh
sure
yeah.
women felt good with this. They tourist friendly. It's like, remember that video that went viral on TikTok? How will they know?
How
How
they
will they
know?
know?
How they
How
gonna
will
know?
they
Yeah.
know that you are vaping? And our hardware looks like a nicotine vape. It doesn't even look like a
Yeah.
THC vape, which actually
Some people actually there's a bigger stigma to the nicotine vape than a weed vape, depending where you live and where you're rolling with, right? It's
absolutely
interesting, right?
I actually agree. However, these work. We actually have the silicone mouthpiece on here for women who wear lipstick. So
Oh, that is thoughtful.
yes, and then the wake and vape here it's raised. So when you rub your finger across it, it's raised
You
on the.
know it's yours. They're just
Put a lot
quality
of
here.
thought into
So
making sure we produce a quality product.
So Victoria, what's the biggest challenge in front of you right now in this current state in your business? What's the biggest roadblock? What's the biggest challenge?
Right now, my biggest challenge is number one, getting people to actually believe that this brand is good enough to still be on shelves.
Hmm.
Right now, we have saturated 25% of the Illinois cannabis market. And I think my second issue is people paying the bills on time. And I know that is like a cannabis issue in more states than ours. So it's okay. We do have some really great customers who always, always pay on time. And then we have some that we're still waiting on payments from June of last year.
Hey, pay
Yeah.
your bills, people.
Yeah.
These are small business owners. Pay your bills. If you can't pay your bill, don't buy the product.
Yeah.
Right? Vendors too. Just
We're
take care.
definitely a small business, and I really love our team. They do a lot to try to keep this business afloat. So it'd be great if this ecosystem that we was really creating, like the multi-state operators, they don't carry a lot of the smaller brands because if you don't have anything to trade off with them,
Mm,
like for example, if I don't have dispensary stores, then I can't get certain multi-state
mm.
operators like Cresco to carry my products, because if I can't carry their products, they won't carry my products.
Right. It's a
So you're
very
gonna
old
need
school
more than
kind
one
of.
license. Yeah.
It's a tit for tat. So let's bring it home here. What advice would you give someone? Is it still a good market to enter in general, or we have hit saturation here?
Oh, this is still a good market to get into. Um,
Yeah.
you need to have a plan, and have a plan to pivot, because the failures, I think that my brand is successful because I was able to learn from the mistakes that I witnessed other people making.
Hmm.
And so I don't worry about failing forward, just be willing to pivot. If something is not working, then pivot, have a plan to introduce more products. They like seeing more SKUs. I've had a dispensary tell me, hey, you only got 3 SKUs. Let us know when you have more.
But
And
what,
then
what?
we
But
would
why
just,
can't you just focus on three really good products that people love? Why do you have to? Why do you have to have so many SKUs and get into like different strains and flavors and bullshit? Like why?
well, some of the buyers really enable our businesses, because some of the owners, they want to carry your brand. Some
Right.
of the owners don't even know that your product is not in their stores until they see you out in public, and they like,
Or someone
wait
asks
a
for it.
minute, you're not in my store?
Yeah.
I'd be like, no. So some of the buyers are just used to the brands that they're used to. So they don't even try to carry the older brands.
Yeah.
So if somebody new, I would say this is still a great market to get into. You need to bring something unique, because you're going to have people say, there's a lot of vapes on the market.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of gummies on the market. Everybody wants a gummy. And I don't care how many gummies on the market, people are still going to try gummies.
Right.
Women are still going to try it at least once.
Mm-hmm.
So make your brand stand out,
Love it.
and don't just dump product in people's stores. Go out to the stores,
Build the relationship.
support the stores, support your sales, celebrate the bud tenders, let them know, acknowledge bud tenders. That's
Yes.
what we do.
But
That's
we
what
need a bud. We need a National Bud Tender Appreciation Day.
bud tenders need to be appreciated
Bud
more. The
tenders
more
need
you
love also.
appreciate them, the more they will sell your product with confidence. They
There we
they
go.
know you're coming, and instead of buying them pizza, get them some Chick-fil-A.
There we go. Step it up, Victoria. Let's bring it home here. What's the single greatest piece of career advice you've ever received that you take action on?
Ooh. Mm. Someone told me, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
There we go. No, that wasn't my answer though.
What's the answer?
I was saying you don't. You don't eat the elephant. Then they said it again. Victoria, how do you eat an elephant? And then when they finally got me to the one bite at a time, when I face challenges, when I have projects, I remind myself all of this is eating an elephant, and we can eat this elephant one bite at a time.
I love it. Maybe Chick-fil-A is going to start carrying some elephant over there. But I kid. And Victoria, last but not least, you've been through it. You face challenges head on. You tackle them all. You've reached different levels of success in your life and your career, certain areas, and it's always a journey. But Victoria Williams, how do you define success? What does that look
Ooh.
like to you?
Mm, freedom, creating opportunities for others. The more you do for others, people don't know this, but it's a reward in that for you. It feels good to be able to bless others. It feels good to create opportunities for others. And the one thing I tell people is, people never forget how you made them feel.
Mm-hmm.
So be good.
Good. I love it. Victoria, I want to thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. It's been a fantastic conversation. Thank you for being a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful 420th guest. You nailed it. I love it. Everyone, I want you to check out, find out more at wakeandvape.com. Find out if it's available in your state. We're going to link you up to the Instagram. Anywhere else I missed?
No, the Instagram is great. We do a lot of competitions. Well, our Instagram got shut down. We just had to do a new
Uh-oh.
page. But shout out to Matt Barnes, because they definitely did great reviews on it. It got our page shut down, but
Yeah, we're gonna link it all up. Well, everyone out there, thank you so much for joining us today. If this show meant something to you, leave a review rating. It goes a long way. You know where to find out more at thepodcast.com. Follow us on social media. You know the links, YouTube /The Podcast, Instagram @NHP Talent. Remember, be good to yourself, be better to others, and catch us next week for another great episode of the podcast. Take care, everybody.
Wisdom is forever, but for us, it's time to go. Thank you for joining us. Luckily, we'll be back with our next episode soon, jam-packed with more incredible humans. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and sharing. To join the conversation, search the podcast on LinkedIn. And to catch up on past episodes and more info, please visit www.thepodcast.com.